All right, Chair Gary Delvaux. Here. Vice Chair Matt Schuler. Here. Alderperson Barbara Dorff. Here. Jim Blumerick asked to be excused. Debbie Dane. Kathy Lucas. Here. And Melanie Parma asked to be excused.
Very good, thank you. I ask for approval of our agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved by Alder Dorff and second by Matt. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Agenda approved. Minutes from our December 11, 2018 regular meeting. Ask for those to be approved.
Move to approve. Second. Sorry.
Motion made by Alder Dorff and second by Debbie. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. Regular business. Number 1, consideration of possible action on development agreement 19-01 with TWG Development LLC and VDL Holdings LLC for Broadway lots at the rail yard at 420 North Broadway, parcel 5-1756.
Thank you. Excuse me just a moment. I'm going to call in Jonathan Elke. He's the development director for TWG.
Okay.
Just wanted to be able to answer the questions that you had today. Paul Belshner with BDL is here. Okay. You were in the back before, weren't you? Okay. All right. You can't dress like the chair on this gray and black. Can't see him. And just want to, they'll be here to answer the questions, but I just want to make sure to get Jonathan on the phone first. Hey Jonathan, Kevin Bowen, City of Green Bay. We are here at the Redevelopment Authority meeting. We just opened up business item to deal with the development agreement here. So if you want to listen in, I'm just going to give an overview of the project. We'll have some discussion, but I just also may notice that you'd be available for questions. If there's any specific to the project, Paul Belshner on behalf of DDL is also here.
Sounds good.
All right. So we have a developer, TWG Development, over. They're out of Indianapolis. We've been talking with them for some time now, and really looking to get them to do a residential housing project up in the city. What we have today is a proposal where they are looking to acquire about 4 more or less acres of the northernmost part of the rail yard property. So if you want to do the next slide. So you can see here is just a kind of bird's eye view of the rail yard. Broadway is kind of running left to right through the middle of it. The new community shelter is on the right-hand side there. And so this parking lot area, where you see some of these trailers, Bond Street would be extended into this property. And then the development would occur right here. Bond Street would come in through here. The new development would be right here. Dental Driver Way, which is extended down here, will come up this way. And then part of the new development would be also there. It's 3 structures, if you want to go to the next piece. One is called Building A, which is 93 1 and 2 and 3 bedroom rental units. And then there's 2 two-story residential townhome structures, which we'll call buildings B and C, over on the right side, east of Donald Driver Way. And so with that, we are very excited about this potential project to bring some additional housing to our downtown area, and also bring an affordable housing project to our downtown area. As we talk about building a community where all have the ability to work and live. This is an important part of what we're doing here. I think some things that we've talked about in terms of why we've supported it with our strategy. Obviously, the rail yard has been one of our target investment areas in terms of some major redevelopment, and Paul can talk a little bit about just some of the other things going on in that district. From an environmental perspective, we're continuing to remediate the brownfields that are here. Obviously, we're going to be generating new property tax base on this parcel that hasn't been doing that for some time. We're going to build new structures, again, all ages and abilities, and putting it in a location that's easy to access, foot, bicycle, transit. And this is really connected. People who live here will be able to work downtown and recreate downtown. Just as far as some of the numbers go. We're estimating, just taking a look at this piece of property, to have a base value or a land value of about $650,000. When this project is all said and done, it'll assess out about $7.5 million. The project cost, and Jonathan, if you want to go into the budget, you can talk a little bit about that. It's probably going to cost closer to $21 million. But based on our assessment methods and because of the affordability of the project, we're going to be looking at an assessment value probably between 7 and 8. We estimated $7.5 million for this project. So with that, our recommendation would be to approve this development agreement with TWG and DDL Holdings to move forward with it. This TIF incentive would look at two parts. One, it would provide a future project grant of $750,000 to DDL Holdings. That's per the terms of our original agreement with DDL, that we put $100,000 of grant money into every $1 million of value created. That's to go for the infrastructure that's needed to service this project, primarily the addition of Bond Street, but then also site things that go for the whole property with utilities and stormwater and all those other pieces. And then as far as a pay-go, right now that master agreement with DDL says that after debt service has been paid, they would be able to retain 50% of the additional increment coming in. They've agreed to give that to TWG, and what we would like to do is offer the city's portion so that any increment generated after the debt service is paid would go into this project. Based on the timing, this would be extended through the end of the TID. It would be probably about $840,000 to $1.2 million. There is a request to extend the tax increment district, which would go before the GRB next year. I think that's something as staff we would support. Given the turmoil with that project, we kind of lost a few years during the time on Broadway held it, the Redevelopment Authority held it for a while. So there was a time where we didn't have a lot of things going on, and that kind of set us back in terms of development potential. But that is one of the pieces of request that we'll take through next year. But with that, I think this has been a good project, and the mayor wanted to step in. I think he's been working with TWG, and if you want to say a few words.
I think, like Kevin said, we want a downtown where you work downtown, you live downtown, and this workforce housing, affordable housing, whatever you want to call it. I mean, the Hotel Northwood needs people to be able to walk to work and be there. And to look at some of the other projects that are in the queue for the downtown, we need people not only living down here, we need people working down here. And Kevin mentioned, we've been at this for a couple of years now, and for, I don't know, whatever reason, we're here today, and this is a real opportunity to move the city forward. And we would strongly support this. We like the design we've been through, and we sure like the developer. And who's going to comment on the design? But TGW has a great history, and we checked them out with their mayor, and we were down talking in Minneapolis and toured some of their properties, and I think this is the right time to move ahead with this project. Okay.
Jonathan, is there anything that you wanted to add?
No, just that we greatly appreciate the support that we've had from the city of Green Bay. It's pretty plain to say that the project just wouldn't work without the tax increment financing. Both the city of Green Bay and the pass-through, if you will, from DDL. It's all very neatly structured. We've been assuming that along with the extension through 2036 as part of our capital stack and our financing for the project. So it's a very integral part of the development of Broadway Law. So thanks in advance for the support, but also been impressed with the city and with DDL. It's been a great partnership to this point, and we're excited to keep it moving forward. I'm happy to answer any questions about the specifics about the Broadway Lofts or the townhome portion as they arrive.
This is very, very unique with the pass-through. Can you Any comparison to other projects where you've done something similar to this?
No, so, I mean, the whole rail yard situation was a little bit unique in that, look, I mean, it's, when we did that agreement, at the time, it's almost 17 acres.
Yes.
It's not all gonna be developed on day one. And so what we tried to do with that agreement from 2017 was create kind of a structure to have a master developer be able to come in, do some pieces of the project, and that's why that agreement was included in
Yep,
here.
yep.
And at that time, it contemplated rehabbing the warehouses and putting in some townhomes. And you see that going on right now.
Yes.
But we also understood that that particular developer would probably, A, do future projects themselves,
Mhm.
but also look at partnering with other groups to do other projects there. And so, the reason for the tri-party, and Paul, if you want to chime in, is to look, we feel per the master agreement, money going in to help with the infrastructure that helps the whole site become developable, that's the role of DDL. DDL feels like this is a good project that's going to add and complement and benefit all the things that they're going on there, so they're taking basically the pay-go that they're entitled to and working to pass it through to TWG to get this project off the ground, which is going to help other pieces. With that, coming back to the city to ask for our portion of it, we feel, again, it's listed kind of in the memo,
Yes.
there's a lot of objectives of
Yes.
why we feel this is worthy of that. And also in terms of not having any additional cost to the city, we're not putting
Right.
any other money up front.
Right.
That this makes this project happen and continues the growth there.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to open the meeting and let open call.
Motion to open the floor.
Second.
Alder Dorf, and then second by Kathy. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Paul?
As a reminder, when we started the rail yard project, the original road infrastructure, stormwater technology budget was $5.77 million. The City of Green Bay Public Works Department put those numbers together. We started with $2.1 million in the original master developer agreement. So this project does add $750,000 to the $2.1 million. And as you're probably aware, we've been awarded some brownfield funds from WEDC as well, which all help be part of that catalyst to get this 15.77 acre site infrastructure. So we then look to find the right fit for the right projects in the right place. So I think as much as everybody believes in Terry Ruffsgard and the NEW Community Shelter and how that building looks and how well it's run, it's still a homeless transitional shelter. So you look for a development buffer. In our northerly piece of property for the rail yard is immediately adjacent to the NEW Community Shelter. So we really believe that this is a good use for that site north of Bond Street as Bond comes in. Then you find a group that can manage a special use type property well, right? That could be a hotel, that could be student housing, it could be anything that's specialty run. TWG has done this for many, many years. They've been throughout the Midwest. They're in 13 or 14 states now. Their WIDA tax credits obligate them to own and manage this property for 15 years. We like that because we, as Mayor mentioned, we've visited with TWG and looked at their projects, and they weren't all brand-new projects. They were projects that were in service for a while. You could have a brand-new project today and a brand-new project today. If this one's run in a deficient manner, the tax value and the overall detriment to the development are going to show up somewhere down the road. So we've vetted TWG, and I guess in that regard, I'd just like to speak in support of their organization. Therefore, we as the DDL group have chosen to transfer that 50% pay-go that was in the DDL master agreement to help supplement the financials of their project. I'd be happy to answer any other current questions about the rail yard or anything that Jonathan hasn't touched on, or Kevin.
Staff is comfortable with the design?
Yeah, so I think
Great
I
point.
give credit to to Jonathan, Paul, Jonathan's team. I think we've gone back and forth with this. I think, we started with a very industrial look and maybe almost too Eastern European. And then we kind of came back the other way and almost had it too suburban. And so I think we fit in a spot that really, respects the industrial buildings that are there, but does so in a way that adds something that's new and modern. And so we worked with them, and then also our staff. I don't know if Dave Buck is here to work through the plan unit development and some of the standards we've put for materials and design. But we've run this through our projects team, and we feel comfortable with this design.
What about outdoor space around this area? What does that look like?
Jonathan, what we're going to talk about is the layout here. This is a 93-unit, 4-story linear property. These are currently 7 and 7. They're looking at maybe 8 and 6, or but a 14-unit mix of townhomes. This gets into our activated storm retention area with the fountains and the LED lights and the walking trails along the railroad tracks and the vegetative barrier. So that'll all connect through and provide a green space for this project.
And outdoor, I always ask this question, like a balcony or outdoor space.
Jonathan would have to speak to the actual project amenities, but as I hope you're aware, the rail yard has a number of those types of spaces, like a Titletown Brewing Company rooftop patio.
Yeah, Broadway Loft is truly designed as workforce housing, so the amenities are to meet that need. So we have a common area on the first floor, and that's going to have a fitness room, a computer room. There's also, because these are apartments, there are throughout the building on each floor, there are storage units for it. So if you lease an apartment, you get a lawn with a small storage area about 6 by 3 by 8, 10 feet tall. And then there's also going to be garages on the back, on the north end of the apartment complex as well. So the townhomes are, there's no indoor amenities. Those are freestanding townhomes. So, and like Paul said, we're relying on the walkability of Broadway Street and the proximity to downtown to really be the selling point for as far as the amenities goes. In a more suburban location, that's where you start seeing large community centers, swimming pool, things like that. We've done quite a few of these more urban infill developments. We find it's all a location, which is not breaking news. So Broadway Loft is model that. There's some of our other workforce housing developments which have leased up quickly with excellent workforce tenants, and they have all been double the location, not so much the indoor amenities that we're providing. So we're really the location, and the units will sell themselves, if you will. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we're in open session. Does anybody else want to make a comment over Johnson? No? Fine. Any other questions for Paul? We'll go back to regular business.
Yep,
Yeah,
just
please.
a couple, so it's the apartment units are the affordable housing?
Jonathan, you
It's
want-
all
it's a-
townhouses and
Yes.
apartments?
Yep.
Okay, and do you have drawings of the townhouses? Because I don't think we've seen that yet.
We do not at this point.
Okay.
We're working on the designs for the main building first, and
Okay.
then Johnny, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the townhouses are still under design?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. We have the basic floor plan. The elevations of the townhome has not changed very dramatically from the initial concept. The main building with the 93 apartments, from that suburban concept, we changed it really dramatically to what you see. I'm assuming you can all see that the rendering from the Broadway view. And so as far as the townhome buildings, we didn't change them very much. We took a look at the ones that DDL is putting in, and we made sure that the townhomes are synced up with that, as well as the industrial location of that. We are still working on updated rendering numbers along the Kevin as soon as I have it.
And did the project end up getting weeded tax credits? Because early on, a couple of years ago, right, the same developer had proposed something and then didn't get them, correct?
Yeah, so we applied the first time for WIDA tax credits via, there's two programs. We applied via the 9% program, which is a competitive program, and the reason it's competitive is they only have so many. But if you have funded through the 9% program, the rents are more restrictive, and by that I mean they're 30% AMI, 40% AMI, 50% AMI. But in exchange, because the rents are lower, you have more tax credits. So you get about 70 to 80% of your equity financed via tax credits. We were able to restructure the development as workforce housing, which means we're hitting them. There are a handful of 40s, mostly 50, 60, 70, and even 80% AMI. So it's a higher spectrum, if you will, of affordable. But with that, those tax credits are not as valuable. They were competitive, but we were able to get about 50% of the equity structure via tax credits, 40 to 50%, and then the rest is just via perm debt, which is supported by the rent. So we did get WIDA tax credits on the project. A different program which doesn't give you quite as much equity through those credits.
And so the people living here have to qualify, correct?
Yes, they're
All right.
income qualified.
Income
So
qualified, yes.
if you have a resident, so when you're walking into Broadway Law leasing office and you say, I would love to live here, so one of the questions they're going to ask during the leasing process is, what's your income? If you say, well, I'm a doctor and I make $150,000 a year, you're not going to be eligible to live in the apartment. So there are various spectrums, but the maximum on the low end would be around $30,000 for a one-bedroom, and then the townhomes depends on how many people you have living in your family in the townhomes. But if you say have a family of 5 in that townhome, you could be earning up to $68,000 so qualified because of all the people in the units. Because it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, so you really could have a family living in there. So it's income qualified, and that's part of our leasing process to qualify their income. They're going to look at pay stubs and things like that to make sure that you're not taking advantage of the program.
Other questions or comments or?
When would construction be scheduled to start?
Construction is going to start as soon as we have permits. So right now we have all the financing lined up with the assumption that we're approved next week. With the city, we are at about a 50% drawing level right now for the main building and about 35% for the townhomes. And we anticipate submitting to the city for permits on the civil side, which is just the site work, in January, and then for the full permits, building permits in April, or March, April. We're hoping to start construction in 60 days after we submit for permits, which would be the first part of May.
Any other questions or comments, or we'll go back to regular business? Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
I have another question for you. How long is construction going to take? It'll be a 16-month construction period, just so you know. So it'll start leasing up in 16 months from May, so late next year.
From the city's perspective, is there anything else besides development agreement that would stop this project? In other words, is it permits or environmental or any of that stuff? No.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working with DDL on the whole environmental and infrastructure plan for everything, and yeah, this fits into everything that we're doing there.
The neighborhoods are, neighbors good?
Yeah.
Excellent. Motion to get back to regular business, please.
Motion.
Matt and Kathy, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, back to regular business. Any other questions or comments? I don't see any reason to go to closed session, whatever. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion of any sort.
Move to approve, move forward on this project.
Holder, Dorf, motion to approve,
Second.
second by Matt. We shall vote. Before we vote, any other questions or comments? I forgot that we had that yet.
I just think it's an excellent fit
Excellent.
for that area.
Great.
Excellent fit.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. We'll be in touch.
Thank you, Jonathan.
All right, thank you all so much
Thank you
for
very
your
much.
time.
Thank
Have a good day.
You're assuming you passed.
I am, I'm assuming it passed. I got a 2 o'clock meeting.
Okay, I saw the little green lights going
Yeah,
up over there.
Were they all green?
Yes.
Okay, well, good. Very good.
So let's go to council.
Good luck,
Yeah, we'll
Paul.
see you Tuesday. Gary, I'm seeing you.
nice work.
Well, I give the developer, and I shouldn't have hung out them credit, after they didn't get the weeded tax credit the first time through, they really wanted to do a project up here, and so just kind of encouraging them, and they really stuck with it, and went through that whole second round, which is not easy to, I mean, anything to explain. You know, it's not a small process to go through that, and they stuck with it, they really see the value, they really like the folks at DDL working with them, and
And I just
Yeah.
think for small business, that is downtown, I just think this is just an awesome.
Excellent use of parcel. All right. Number 2, consideration of possible action to develop agreement with property located at 1130 Stewart Street, parcel 14,997. All right, yeah. All right.
How's it going this afternoon?
Ken, we're just ready
It's
for
great,
you. We're just
you
ready.
know?
All right.
Now you can jazz us.
Yeah, so we purchased this property in 2016 as part of the Brown County tax foreclosures. This past spring, we had awarded it to a developer who ultimately failed to complete the project. He did, however, manage to complete most of the interior demo as well as some of the yard cleanup. He removed some of the trees that were affecting the foundation on the west side of the property. And he got all that cleaned out for us. When we took the property back, we got it back at no charge to us. Let's see here. We put it back out for RFP, as well as we listed the property with Bill Doyle and Matt Norm with Coldwell Banker as part of our new contract that we have for getting these properties out on the MLS. Bill and Matt are actually both here. They've been showing this property probably daily, I would think. Bill actually said he was going to put a cot in the property because he was there so often. So, but we ended up with 5 proposals. And actually, as we accepted those and had this agenda set, there were more that wanted to submit too. So we got quite a few good ones here. ADZ Investments scored the highest with a 43.3 out of 48 on our grading scale. So staff is recommending awarding that project to ADZ Investments for the rehab of this project.
Questions, comments? Lots of interest, that's great.
Yeah,
Purchase
getting-
price, Ken, is
Oh, yeah, sorry. So purchase price that we have an offer for $11,000.
And so the developer then would buy the property,
Correct.
rehab it,
Rehab it
and then
sell
go to
it.
resell it into the marketplace.
Correct, yep, sell for owner occupancy. They'll be finishing the conversion back to a single family.
Okay.
It was chopped up into a 2-family. The previous developer kind of already got all of that cleared out. The kitchen on the second floor has been removed. There was a back deck that also had to be taken off. So this developer is basically just putting all the pieces back together.
Any idea what the end assessed value will be?
They're looking at putting it on the market for $129,000. So and it had been assessed prior at $80,000.
Great, great.
Yeah.
And what's the construction period?
They're looking at a 6-month timing.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm assuming starting relatively soon?
Starting as soon as we can close on it.
Okay.
Yep. So I think the only holdup they were looking at is with the foundation work, getting into the ground, making sure that, you know, they have a relatively dry period of time when they do that, so. But they were looking at it possibly doing the foundation work in June, so, or as soon as they can start, so. Yeah, this one, there were on the surface, it doesn't look like a terrible property, but the previous owner, before we got it from the tax foreclosure, did a lot of his own work and didn't know what he was doing, so. yeah.
I've lived in homes like that.
Yeah. So, and that's, those are the things that we run into, and that's why we end up with them, so.
Bottom line, this is your number one recommendation.
Yeah, yep, scored the highest.
Score that.
Yep. It also ended up, it had the highest offer too, so, we actually recouped. Oh, we're all getting that.
Amber, phone's on.
Amber Alerts. Shannon.
So we'll actually be, other than some maintenance costs, we'll be completely recouping our costs on this property.
Excellent. That's what I hear.
Yeah.
We certainly can open up the meeting. I don't see a need for it, but if somebody wants to, we can. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion. Move to approve. I'll take the order. Move to approve.
Second.
Second by Kathy. Any other questions or comments?
Are we allowed to question
Oh,
people not
yes.
on the committee? We are one of the people who submitted proposals, and we're not the ones who scored the highest, but we only learned about the project a couple of days before the deadline for this meeting.
let me make a motion to open up the meeting.
Move to open.
Okay, sorry.
Paul Underdorf, Kathy,
Second.
all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Please.
We were under the impression, and I don't know if this is still a possibility, because it sounds like the decision has kind of been made, other than the vote. But we only found out about the project a couple of days before the deadline to submit for this meeting. And so we submitted a scope of work, and then thought that we were able to amend, add to our proposal at today's meeting. If we'd have known we needed to submit things earlier, we could have, but we didn't. We brought it up with us today.
We had, we were out in Vegas for a real estate convention, and we did not find out about it till the Tuesday before the closing date was. We
The
got
date
back,
to
we just
submit.
did a small scope of work just to get an offer in by that Wednesday night.
But Ken, tell us the process.
I guess I've never actually ran into this before, so I'm not 100% sure the process here either. I guess you could,
Yeah, I mean, it's,
I don't know.
generally, I mean, when we put these things out, I mean, we do have some timetables and understand it might be tight sometimes. I mean, I think we sometimes, probably not the first project we deal with, all right, this is what we have to date. Keep it open, another meeting, for another few weeks. We may get additional proposals, we may get none. It may be better, or it may not be. I think there's also opportunity, I mean, you look at, right, bird in the hand strategy too, that if not moving forward, weighing that option. And really, I think, be at the discretion of the board. If you feel comfortable, where this is at, and this developer is ready to go forward, I'd move forward. If you think there's something else that might come by keeping it open longer, I mean, it's,
When did the RFP go?
When did we list this, Bill?
Yeah, I do have a list date.
And then when did you close?
We closed, it would have been, our offer was put in
Whatever
December
the
18th, I believe.
Yeah, the
That was
last date to submit before this meeting, whatever that date was, that was the date that we submitted our offer.
I think I got my office, but I believe it was a month, at least a month it's been out there.
Right, well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Is when was it open, when did it close, and when did you guys submit?
Were
It
they
was
in the
listed
green?
December 6th.
December
Were they
6th.
in the grading process?
Were they in the process?
For Innovative Homes or Innovative Home Solutions LLC.
Okay.
So they were part of the,
They were part of this
Okay.
grading, yeah.
but now you're saying you would have made a change, is that what you're saying?
Well, we didn't realize that the grading was going to take place prior to this meeting. I guess I thought everyone was going to come and present their proposals to the committee. And so that's what we've prepared.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not really the process though, but staff
Right.
usually
Okay.
grades it out and then makes a recommendation to us.
Yeah. So, I mean, we can definitely, I have a list of developers that we can, as soon as we get another property or anything, we
That
can
would be
definitely keep you on that
wonderful.
list.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay,
so-
all right, thank you very
Yeah,
much,
no problem.
appreciate it.
Yeah, nice to meet you. And we can chat after the meeting too, if
Okay,
you'd like.
that sounds great.
Yeah, it's not like we did the regular process and
Yeah.
I think everything's done properly.
Okay.
Motion to close the floor.
Motion to go back to regular business. Hold the door. And Kathy? All those in favor of saying aye?
Aye.
Go back to regular business. And actually, we were.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for vote? Okay. All right.
Sorry. I forgot to say. Passed unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Yes, hopefully we can quite some other projects for you guys.
No, that's not a problem.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry we weren't aware of the process.
No problem. Yeah, we'll
All
talk.
right, informational. Director's report.
Okay, quick things, the Associated Bank parking lot, we exercised our intent to purchase. So we were in the process, got a little extra time, Deputy Attorney Bungard, and then back to City Attorney Chavez, and next week we'll be here. So we're gonna work on the official purchase and sale agreement, just get that structured, but probably we'll look to close on that within the next 90, 120 days. Two parts, like we talked about here, short term of getting some leases for parking spots on that property, and then obviously the long-term, bigger term play of getting a development on there. But appreciate your support, I think it's a really great site. and
Absolutely.
we'll Get to work on
So
marketing
correct, but
that.
it is to own that property.
Yes. So we'll move forward on that. Back on the other side of the river, the shipyard, right before the holidays, we had a public outreach engagement session. I don't know if Matt just stepped out. I think it was very well attended, probably had nearly 100 people come over to Joy, go through and talk about just, look, we got this concept, what do we want to actually see now, or how do we want this to manifest itself? And some really good input on that. Matt just told me the other day, I think our online survey went from like 70 to like 300 some responses. So people are really, engaging with it, providing some comments. So Stantec's taking those, we're going to discuss the results of those on Friday, and then kind of figure out, all right, now where do we go with the next part of design and layout. They've also been doing some heavy lifting on like the non-exciting, but very crucial stuff of like moving dirt, metal remediation, dealing with the power lines and the railroads, and I mean, all those other pieces that are going along in the background. I'd still like to hope to be able to start moving shovels around a bit later this spring. And then also dealing with shipyard, rail yards, and then part of the east side opportunity zones. Our staff's been working a lot to get some things ready. Look, it's a federal incentive or federal tax credit program that allows you to defer, or in some cases eliminate capital gains taxes by taking those funds and investing them in certain qualified census tracts. And so we're going to do our best to make sure that, look, they're not going to necessarily make a project happen or say, oh, I'm going to invest in Green Bay now, but they really can take an idea and really find another way to help fill gaps and get projects into reality. So our team's been going to be working on just some marketing packaging and just really how do we maximize this so when we come in, we can add that to our kind of portfolio of ideas to get these projects off the ground. Some prospectus? Yeah, if you want to send one. We've got some that we like, but I like looking at ideas, so, yes, thank you. They're the ones we're looking at.
I haven't been in Hotel Oregon.
I almost
today.
Yes.
It's just beautiful. It's the grand opening. It's just beautiful.
Yes.
Chef downtown Green Bay, looking forward to being at.
Yes, so yeah, Poke the Bear is open. Again, they're trying to be a little soft about it because they want to get their legs under them.
Welcome to our, for a while, maybe,
Right,
right?
right. But Walnut Room should be
Recover.
opening soon, and then should be able to stay there overnight, probably sometime in the coming weeks here, probably by the 1st of February.
And we had the groundbreaking on Main Street there by the old Greyhound.
Yep.
station.
Yes.
Yep, so that is underway now.
Great.
Yeah, the official, now they actually are moving dirt over there, so, yes.
Man, there was a lot of people there.
Yep.
Anything else? All right, so our next meeting is February 12th. If there is no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Matt?
Second.
Kathy? All those in favor, say with me, aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thanks. Have several today.